Ina, welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I'm so excited to have you on and talk about legal tech and story and everything you have to share with our audience. I'm sure they're going to benefit from everything that you have to say. So, on that note, why don't you tell the audience about you and how you started and what you're doing?
Hi, Etta. Firstly, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to speak with you again, firstly, and then to tell a little bit about my story and about why I'm so excited to be in legal tech and communications with lawyers. So I'm a PR manager at a legal tech startup now, but I am also a legal designer and ambassador at the Legal Hackers International Movement. So I'm kind of fan of legal innovations, and I promote this idea because I believe that legal innovations will make lawyers happier. So that's my short bio.
That's your short bio, just a little bit, right? Just a little of everything that you have to say. But you also went to law school, right?
Yep, I have a legal background, so I started law school, and I always believe that I will be an attorney for family law. But someday I met guys from Kiev Legal Hackers, and that's how I get acquainted with legal innovations. And I fall in love with legal innovations from the second side, because from the first side, I even didn't know what the blockchain is or what it is legal tech. So I must have some time to understand better this sector, but I fell in love with legal tech, and that's how I started to promote legal innovations, because I've created my own legal hacker students group in my alma mater university, in my law school. And
Ooh.
while I was doing so, I was doing social media marketing. So I was trying myself in communications, but for that time, I believe that I will be a lawyer sometime. Then I do a little bit practice for IT companies like a lawyer. I have a great mentor. We do a lot of legal stuff, and I write privacy policies, terms of use. But then I understood that I do not want to be a regular lawyer anymore. I want to do design. So that's how I found my passion in design. And I even tried to do like regular graphic design and web design. But then I understood that my superpower is legal background. So I decided to be legal designer. It's like, and it's now like my hobby with the main job of communications. So I decided to help people to understand lawyers better and to help lawyers be more user-friendly. Then I moved to access to justice sector. So I've started working with Hill Accelerator. It's hack accelerator, which works mostly with developing countries. And we were helping access to justice startups here in Ukraine. So it was very interesting work. It was amazing to firstly be part of such a community with startuppers, because you understand it's like different kind of mindset for me.
Absolutely. I think it's a different world, and I don't want to cut you off because I totally want to hear what you have to say, but it's a different world when you have your passion and what you're good at, and then those two worlds combine, and then you can see that it's actually making a difference for not only your country or other people's countries. I think that's such a beautiful thing about tech in general, of how it just can go international in like 2 seconds. But yeah, go on.
Yep. So again, I fell in love with not only legal innovations, but with startups. And I believe that my passion to legal design and the thing that I love, do communications for legal tech startups, it helps me to understand that I want to do legal communications, like design legal communications in a different way, to help lawyers to communicate with their clients, to help them with PR, to help them with marketing. And after my previous work with access to justice sector, I understand that it's important to not only do a business yourself, like not only to get more money, but also to have great vision and great mission. So it will drive you to do better, to do your best, actually. So
Absolutely.
yep. That's how I started with Lorena, because it's like a very young project, but we started with great idea to provide free access to US law. Yep. And then we go with another idea. Maybe it's because my previous experience was with legal innovations, so it was like my passion that I decided to show it to my colleagues. And we decided also to promote legal innovations because they help lawyers to be more productive, to be more effective, to be happier. I think that the most important thing is that it helps you not to do monkey job. So it helps
I like that. I
really
like it.
Yep. So legal tech too, they're great because they provide you as a lawyer, as a legal practitioner, as paralegal, with great opportunity to do things that matters, not like some stuff which need to be done, but the real work, the real lawyer's work, the real research, argumentation, consultations with client, communications, because I believe that lawyers, they're not like really people who work with documents or with laws. They work with people. So that's like my main idea. That's why I decided to do communications for lawyers, because I believe that we need to help people to understand lawyers better, because they are doing very important job and they are gaining
I think people don't, well, not only that, I think people don't understand what lawyers do. Just like even lawyers don't understand what paralegals do. Like nobody knows what anybody does. So I think this is so important for the legal industry, right? Because you're building that bridge between all of these components, right? In a digestible way where everybody can understand it, because you're making it an easy, user-friendly platform where everybody can just, unite in that one center and really understand what each other do. And back to what you were saying about let the lawyers do their work and let the legal support staff do their work, so often we get caught in that, right? We get caught in like the day-to-day tasks and phone calls and emails and all this mundane, right? This little things that need to get done in order to get to where we need to get to, that we often forget our real job, right? Like what we're really here to do, which is to help the client, succeed in their case, to give them the best outcome possible, to provide them with the best information and the best research out there, right? And I think that's kind of what your vision is to kind of eliminate all the bottlenecks, right, that law firms and the staff have between that client and the work, and just create like a more centric, more easy, I guess easy for lack of a better word, easy kind of process, right? And like just building that bridge, which is so needed right now. Like we all need it.
Yep. I totally agree. I totally agree because even me, I'm not a real lawyer. I have legal background. I've done legal practice for a year, but I'm not a lawyer. But my friends, my colleagues, my family, they always ask me questions about legal issues because they didn't understand anything in legal language, like there is normal language for normal people and legal language for lawyers. That's why I understood that there is great need for such a bridge, and it's international need. It's not only for Ukraine situation or for US situation, because I'm currently mostly work with United States lawyers, with their clients, and I see that there is a need for such a decision in every country, but all over the world. But we need to understand more about clients' pains, about lawyers' pains. What do they really need? That's actually next level of Lorena's mission, because we believe that it's important also to help lawyers to be connected with their clients, because as you've mentioned before, there is a gap between them. So clients didn't understand, for example, how to choose a lawyer. What do you need to look for? Like I am a lawyer, you have a legal background. That's why we understand that you need to know maybe about his or her previous cases. maybe about his or her previous experience, articles, blog posts, etc. But regular people, they do not know what do they want from their lawyers. They do not know how to choose a lawyer. That's another great mission. And my team is now working on what do we need actually to show to lawyers' clients to provide them with all information they need to do their own choices. And also what lawyers need to provide. What do they need to think about? Like, I need to look like great expert in, for example, family law. So what do I need to really show? What do I need to really do? Maybe go through some courses, conferences, maybe write an article, maybe go to legal podcasts like yours. So it's another great question, how to help lawyers to look great on the internet and to look very credible for their clients, and how to help clients to understand that it's great lawyer, or this lawyer could help me with my problem. And
Right.
there is like also problem with money, because legal help is not so cheap. So
No.
you need to understand what you will get, because you are paying for this. And there is another problem with like expressing legal language in a normal language. So it's about legislation, it's about mostly about its implementation, about case law, how to read case law, how to understand cases, how to understand that this case is important for your own legal issue and this is not. So it's like basics of legal education for non-lawyers. It's
I
another
love
stuff
it.
what we
I
are
mean, you
thinking
know,
about.
that's literally my mission, right? Because we were just talking about that, how we want to educate the general public and inform, and just, I hate say using education, right? Because for everybody like listens to that and they get scared. They're like, oh, I don't want to go back to a classroom. It's more about informing in a
Yeah,
way that is digestible, that is understandable for someone that has not worked in the legal industry, for someone that has not gone to law school or gone to even at a college level, right? We're looking at everyday people, any age, any gender, any part of the world, of the globe at this point, that can pick this information up and understand exactly what they're reading and what that information means to them. That's really what we need. We need that throughout the entire industry, right? We need that through legal, medical, finance, all of that. But, us as legal professionals, we're focusing on the legal industry and hopefully pave the way for those other industries as well, which I'm sure they're probably working on something similar as well. I don't know. I haven't checked, maybe. But knowing such it's so important, right? It would alleviate miscommunication between the client and the attorney, and those bad reviews for the attorneys and those bad experiences for the client. So it's going to help both parties, right? It's beneficial for everyone. And here in the States, we're really big on we the people, right? That's literally our constitution: we the people, by the people, for the people. So understanding that the people is everyone, and understanding that that information needs to be available and understandable. It's not that it's not available. So for anyone listening out there, it's not that this information is not out there. It's that the information that is out there, the .govs of the world, right? The USA.gov and all the legislation, like, is just talking about, it is out there. You can literally, go on the White House website, look at all the legal procedures, but are you going to understand what you're reading? That's the problem, right? You're not going to understand what you're looking at, what it means, where is it coming from, what does it mean to you, how is it going to affect you personally versus somebody else. So all these interpretations, which is what legal professionals are trained to do, is to read and understand and interpret the law. Not everybody has that type of education, and I think that's where Ina's coming from, right? She's understanding that that's not what everybody has. Not everybody has that type of education or that type of background. So understanding that and bringing it in a way where you can go to a website, resourceful website, and regardless of where you're at in the world, you can actually read something and actually understand it. Like, here's what it actually looks like, but this is what it actually means. And it's not biased, it's not political, it's
yeah,
straightforward. This is what it means. right? Like, because that's another thing. Everybody goes onto Google to try and get the interpretations, but most of the time, these interpretations are either funded by people that are
Yeah.
interested, right? By everyone. And it becomes political. And I think here in America, we make this really bad assumption that law is and politics are synonymous, which they're not. They're not the same. You know, so law is a law, right? It's our constitution, it's our rules and procedures, it's our legislation, it's what, you know, Congress and House and presidents and all that actually have to go by. But those people I just mentioned, make it political, right? They're the ones that make it political. They're the ones that make it difficult. They're the ones that interpret it their way
They
to maneuver
work.
it. They're the ones that are creating the chaos unnecessarily,
Yeah.
right? Because Constitution is one of my previous guests said it, Jay Jordan. He said the Constitution was a very bold statement, right? It was very bold, but it was very clear. It's not, you know, you know, even though everything's open to interpretation, it was super clear that it was for the people, you know, for the rights of the people, and it's literally our Constitution. Not understanding how that was, you know, misconstrued in any way, and how, you know, society has morphed into what it is right now. And I think that's kind of your mission, right? Is to eliminate all the fluff, for lack of a better word, and really create a source where it's non-political and non-biased. Like you can literally just go in there and say, oh, wow, I actually understand what I'm reading.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
You know,
I
it's
think
like,
that's important.
yeah, I think the main problem is that lawyers are very conservative. It's like one of the most conservative business area. So legally, yep. And that's why we need to tell lawyers about this problem. We need to promote this problem. We need to understand that legal innovations, it's not about only legal tech. So legal innovation, it's not only about a tool which helps you to be more productive, effective, whatever. It's also about new approaches, new vision. So you need to approach your legal work in a different way than you've done before. For example, it could be your communications with clients. So do not speak on legal language, speak on plain language, on normal language. Be aware that your clients do not know about all those stuff you mentioned. So they are not lawyers. They need to explain better. They need to have not only better explanation, but even maybe even some visuals or like short videos. So the main point is that lawyers need to think about their clients. They need to be more user-centered. That's the main idea. And I think that it's also about very broad understanding of legal design, because legal design, it's not only about drafting your contract so it will look nice. No, it's more about
I
experience.
love it. So it looks nice.
Just because, you know, if I tell somebody, especially if he or she is a lawyer, so I tell that I always tell it. Have a hobby. I'm kind of legal designer, and they ask me why. What are you doing? You're doing like visuals for contracts or visuals for legal communications, and I said no. I help lawyers with their processes to be more human-centered and to understand this customer journey map or customer value map. So to understand how they communicate with clients, how they cooperate with each other, how they communicate and cooperate with their competitors, because it's another point. I've done lecture on communications for lawyers, and the main point was that lawyers love to communicate. They love to communicate with their clients. Maybe like half of lawyers love to communicate with their colleagues, but like from 50 lawyers, only one lawyer said that she likes to communicate with her competitors, with her contractors. So it was such a surprise for me, because I understand that as a lawyer, you need to get contract from other sides. You need to see their positions, their consultations, maybe. So you need to work with other, for example, lawyers and law firms. And it was so tough to understand that lawyers hate to do so, even more than working with their colleagues and clients. So clients, not just a problem, it's also other lawyers and their approaches to their work, like being too conservative to use Google Documents instead of Word, or writing memos with not regular understanding of what. So you understand because you have legal
Yeah, so
background.
they'll reference like case law, right? Like I've seen this happen. So they'll say, hey, Etta, for example, hey Etta, write me a memo. But I'm like, okay, so is the memo for the client or is the memo for you? And they look at me like with a big question mark on their face, and I'm like, well, it depends. It's really important because with you, I can reference case law and not really have to explain myself, right? What case law is. Like, here's the case law, this is what the case law said, this is the section, and that's it. But with the client, I can't just be putting case law rules and procedures on there and, like they're going to be like, okay, great, this looks fancy, but I have no idea what you're saying. So understanding the audience, right? Again, understanding your client. It's so funny because all of this, I literally had this conversation yesterday. We were on Clubhouse and we were having a discussion about time management, but it really all just ties in together about, communication is so central, right? And it's so essential to the legal industry. And that's all we do. We communicate verbally, we communicate through writing, we communicate and interpret. That's literally our job. And so understanding that importance on how they want to be communicated. Do they, prefer being text, sent a text or an email versus a phone call or vice versa? When's the best time to communicate with them? Do they work a full-time job 9 to 5 and they can't just be picking up the phone in the middle of the day? Or do they work nights and they have the days free? Understanding your client, like you said, and I love it. I wrote it down, human-centered, is really kind of the epiphany, right, of the legal industry. And I think we are so caught up with learning the laws, interpreting them, following procedures, deadlines, tasks, this, that. We almost became robots at one point, right? Like we're just like, okay, task tells me to do this, like we like eliminated the most important thing about being a legal professional, which is being human, right? So we get frustrated when the client's like yelling at us or freaking out on the phone, and we're not understanding that they're going through a very difficult time in their life. Whether it's small or big to you, it's big to them regardless, right? Because they're at a loss. They have no idea what's going on. They're freaking out, right? Like legitimately freaking out. And if it's really a bad case, like they lost someone, maybe it's like a car accident and they lost an unborn child, or, you have no idea unless you went through it yourself. Even though you went through it yourself, we all grieve differently. We all react to situations different. So understanding that the other person on that, side of the table or on that phone call or on the video chat or whatever, however you're communicating with the client, understanding that they're human as well and that they're already flustered and going through a very difficult moment and season in their life is crucial, right? It's crucial to the success. It's crucial to, I always say put the human back in humanity, because we forget, we get lost in all this chaos and again, the deadlines and everything. And I think software and legal tech and legal innovation is playing a major role in highlighting those inefficiencies and highlighting the importance of regular communication. I think we're so caught up with social media and hiding behind our phones and hiding behind our computers that we literally lost the human interaction. Like perfect example. I know this is a little off topic, but perfect example. I walk my dog 3 times a day. Okay, because I work from home. So I walk my dog 3 times a day. I don't bring my phone. I leave it at home. And I just walk them for, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on what the allowed time is, right? And I leave my phone and I walk around. Other people are walking around as well. They're all on their phones. They're all plugged in. They're all, doing what they got to do, right? Because they're running and they need their amp music and they need all of it, right? And that's great. But it's like, no good mornings, no how are yous. Like, what happened to that? I remember when I was younger and TV was available, cell phones were coming out. I would just go outside and knock on my neighbor's door and be like, "Hey, you want to play?" And like now we live in a society where people will live in the household for 5+ years and not know their neighbors. I'm like, how is that even a thing? Like they literally live right next to you. It's like, how is that even possible? So I think sometimes technology is great, right? I'm not taking away from technology because we are able to connect just like we're connecting now and create relationships, meaningful relationships. So there, it's great. But it's like everything else, we can't overdose on it, right? So medication's great, don't overdose. Alcohol, fine, if that's your thing, don't go overboard. Coffee is even bad for you if you take it to the next level.
Yep.
So understanding that everything, is within reason, right? I think that was my point of this whole spiel.
It's important also to understand that you are human, not a hero. You're human as a lawyer, yep, because it helps you with your mental health. So it's another issue for lawyers, for law students, actually, because it all starts from your law school, from your studying. So firstly, very competitive environment. Secondly, it's more about some tough deadlines, a lot of tasks, and a lot of information to learn. So you need to be competitive. You need to do your best every day. And it's so stressful. So lawyers are mostly stressed out, and the statistics, it's like crazy, with level of depression, with level of alcohol addiction and other addictions. So it's important to understand that you need to be human, be real, and to provide yourself this opportunity to be just a human, not a hero, which could help your clients or your family with everything. So because we've done previously event online webinar on mental health as Lorena team, yep, and it was even surprised for me because I understand that I have lawyers friends, so I understand the like general situation because I have legal background. My best friends, they are all mostly lawyers, so I understand that there is pressure, there is a lot of stress, a lot of deadlines, and you need to work overtime like every day or every week. So that's how I understand that. Yep, situation is quite tough, but I'm also in love with my job. That's why I also work so hard. But then I look through statistics, which our speakers mentioned concerning lawyers' mental health issues during learning in law schools. And I understood that the main problem is that lawyers are learned to be depressed and stressed while they're in law school. As you mentioned, it was a great example. So you became a robot. You understand that you need to do a lot of work. You need to get rid of your emotions because it will mess up you and you would not be able to do a lot of stuff you need to do. And you became like a robot or a hero. I always say, lawyers, you do not need to create a hero reputation via LinkedIn, via messaging. So while you are using your social media, for example, to build up your brand online, you need to be yourself, just to be yourself. And it's actually the greatest opportunity and the greatest trend as for now, to be really you, to be sincere. So people will be able to trust you because I'm very like direct person and I'm very emotional. So it's kind of hard for me to like get out and just be myself because I'm very emotional. So I understand that, okay, these days stressful. So I need to express myself, but I need to understand that it could harm others, for example, or something like that. So I need to understand that I am just a human as others. They also are humans. So That's why I could be depressed or stressed, or I could have bad days, I could have good days. But the main idea is that lawyers need to understand how to be real you, how to just take your time off, because there are a lot of lawyers, so they believe that if you have like many vacations or if you have a lot of free time, so you're not productive, you are not a real lawyer, you are not a good lawyer. But to be rested is the greatest thing to do your job better. And I believe that it's kind of another approach, which I always call legal innovation. So it's approach to your legal practice, to your belief about yourself as a legal practitioner, as paralegal, lawyer, attorney, whatever. So you need to understand that you're just a human, you have human needs, you have a lot of things out of your work, out of your office. Yep. So you need to take care about that. And that was the main point while we were doing our brainstorming. We were like creating in team with Lorena team, we were creating like lawyers 2030, the future map. So we were trying to understand innovations in a very different approach. And it appeared that all problems, almost all problems, they're about communications. So, and communications problem there.
I mean, that is the way of the world.
Now.
Miscommunication, misunderstandings. I had a guest on, Olivia. She talks about that, about how you cannot create other people's feelings, right? So, and she used this example to your point. When somebody's sad or somebody's having a bad day and you're trying to cheer them up, you're not going to cheer them up. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, they need to do that themselves. Are you going to help? Are you going to expedite the process? Maybe, maybe not, depending on how that person reacts to you trying to make them feel better. But again, it's all about their reaction, not your reaction, right? So a lot of people, like you said, I'm very much like you, very outspoken. Obviously, I run a podcast and a YouTube channel. So I'm very outspoken. I have strong opinions. However, doesn't mean that I can't sit back and listen to other people that may not have the same opinions, may not be on the same wavelength as me. I've had plenty of conversations with people like that, my family included. I have a family that's completely opposite of me that live literally an hour from me. And so, we can all get along. I think where it gets bad is when people take it personal, right? So like, use your example about having a bad day. Everybody's going to have a bad day.
Yep.
You're all, we're all going to be stressed. We're all going to have some days where everything is just seems to be going like bad, right? But your bad day doesn't have to be somebody else's bad day, right? If that person's not having a bad day, don't ruin their day because you decided to be in your feelings, which is fine. Go ahead and do your thing. But understanding that you, like you said, being aware of that you're just not in the mindset right now to, get along with people, keep to yourself that day. Keep to yourself. Just do what you got to do. Be honest with people. Hey, I'm not having the best day. Can we have this conversation a little later? I do that to my kids all the time. I wake up and I'm like, look, mommy's not having a good day, so y'all better get showered, ready, dressed, in the car now. Like, go. I'm not having a day right now. And they know, and they're 5 and 3, by the way. And they know that mommy's not having a bad day. Yeah, and not having a good day. So they'll automatically know, they'll look at my face and they'll be like, oh, it's a good day. Oh, it's a bad day. But I want to also say that bad days are moments, right? So I can have a bad morning, right? Or a rough, tough morning. And then by afternoon, I'm good. I got my coffee in, I got workload out, and everything else. And I'm like, okay, it wasn't that bad, right? So for everybody out there that gets stuck in their feelings, go for it. But don't let that transcend for a very long time, because then you're just going to spiral, right? Then it's just not going to be good. And it's not going to be good for your clients. It's not going to be good for other people around you, your colleagues, anybody that you interact with, even the person that your barista. Okay, just don't do it. Just get your coffee and go.
So it's important to do so, that you need to be honest. You need to be firstly honest with yourself and then with others. And to be honest, you need to be very brave and very confident about yourself. Just my friend told me recently that you are so confident, and I asked him why, and he told, because you tell people directly what do you feel, what do you want from them, and it makes you look very confident. And it was my insight that I'm brave, firstly, and I'm confident, but secondly, that your honesty, it is very precious for others, because you could help them also to be honest. So, for example, if somebody in your legal team or just a team, if they tell that, okay, I have a bad day, I need to not to be in my office, I need to stay at home, to be by my own, and to do my work in peace and quiet. So
yes.
if somebody
Do not interrupt me.
if somebody told you so, you could tell he or she the same thing when you will have a bad day. So it's a great idea to be honest with others, because it will help you. Because if you have a lot of, let's say, bad emotions, but I don't believe that some of emotions could be bad and good. So all emotions are great because they are telling something about ourselves, something about our beliefs, about things what we love, things what we need to do. So let's just presume that you have bad emotions, a lot of bad emotions, and you just caught by that emotions and do not express them. So there could be some day when you have such a bad day, so others will be harmed. That's why you need to express your emotions, but in a very confident way and in a very simple but understandable way, not harmful way. Yep.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
be honest, firstly with yourself, to tell yourself that, okay, I'm having a bad day, or I'm having a hard day. I just didn't want to, like, my main point is that I do not like to use the word bad, because, you know, like bad person, maybe hard person, like hard person for communications, hard day, because it's better, as our beliefs, they create our mood, our emotions, like our thoughts. It's actually, what do we need to change ourselves? That's why I decided to change bad for hard, because all emotions are good, all days are good, but some of them are quite hard
I love
to.
it. I love that. I think the way we talk to ourselves has a lot to do how we can talk to others. So back to your point about, hey, I'm not having the best day right now. I'm a little off today. Like I always say off days, like I'm just having an off day. And so understanding that that can actually strengthen the relationship with someone, regardless of what type of relationship that is, whether it's personal, professional, but giving that honesty out there and just getting it to them in a way where it's digestible and it's not going to be misinterpreted in any way. Kind of like you're basically saying it's not you, it's me, right? I'm just not having that, I'm just not in that moment right now. And I'm not emotionally available to be that person that you need me to be today. And I do that all the time. Like, don't get me wrong. I do that all the time with the kids. I'm like, look, all right. I do that with my husband. I'm like, it's not the day. Just don't mess with me. Get out of my way. Let me just finish these 24 hours. I'll probably be back to normal tomorrow, but I don't know. I can't guarantee anything. Um, but understanding that, I think, strengthens the relationship, any relationship, I think, anyway. So
Yeah.
that's my tidbit. But I like that, hard. I'm gonna write that one down. Hard day.
Wow. And it's even more important to understand that you need to do so not only in your personal life, but especially in your professional life. Because
Yeah.
as I mentioned before, lawyers, they like to look like heroes on the internet for their clients. So because it's like more about hero mission to get your client, to help him or her with legal problem, like to save somebody. You understand? So as a lawyer, you do always do saving job. You save somebody, you help them, and that's why it created in your head mind that you need to be a hero yourself. But to be a hero, you need to be especially a human,
Confident
like
and brave.
yep. You need to be brave, you need to be honest. So as for me, real here, it's not somebody who have only like good emotions and who could bear with anything. No, it's somebody who understands himself or herself and who are honest with herself or himself. So the
Yeah,
main
and we
point
talk about that a lot with communication between the lawyer and the paralegal as well, right? So it can also affect the staff. So if you're not being that, what you're calling hero, which I love, by the way, if you're not being that hero by being honest and brave with your team, then that's reflecting out to the rest of the firm, right? So it's going to affect the bottom line. It's going to affect the success of the firm. It's going to affect the way the clients either come back or refer you business, or it's going to affect everything. So understand, again, it's not you, it's me kind of thing, right? Like just being honest with yourself first so that you can be honest with others, I think is important as well. Like you're probably going through a funk. A lot of attorneys, carry the weight on their shoulders when it comes to running a firm, knowing and understanding that there is a lot of responsibility running a firm, both on the legal support staff and the attorney, understanding them as well, understanding that they're not just a lawyer, they're business owners and they have other responsibilities outside the firm on top of running a whole business, making sure you get a paycheck every week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is, understanding that there's other things going on in the background. And again, not taking anything they say personal. So I talk a lot about this in the book about negative bias, right? We have these attorneys that come to you and say, you're doing this wrong, you're making mistakes, you got to do it better, da, 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 and they just keep going at it and never say, wow, this was actually really good. Never give you that good feedback, right? So you're constantly listening to the negative and, negative feedback. And then all of a sudden that turns into, oh my God, am I even good enough? Am I even good at my job? Am I doing good? Like, should I choose another profession? Should I choose? No, it's not about that. Understand that the attorney is probably going through something as well. The attorney is probably not giving you a directive, properly, or something is missing in the process, or there's a mistake in the template. Figure out what is going wrong, what is causing those continuous mistakes versus kind of internalizing it and thinking that everything's your fault, right? I think that's really important, especially again with that communication, having that important communication between the staff and the management, also that continuous, right, communication. We all have these conversations in our heads and we create this story that doesn't exist, right? You get an email and you're like, well, what does that mean? Why are they sending me this email? Like all of a sudden you're reacting to something when it's an email, guys. It's an email. Pick up the phone, have a conversation. Hey, what's going on? What is it that you really need? Is there anything else I can provide you? So on and so forth. Having conversations will alleviate the story and the narrative that you're creating, because you're creating it. There's nothing there, guys. It's an email.
Yes, I have a great example. We are doing blogging on Lorena, so we provide bloggers with the opportunity to share their voices. And one of our bloggers, he wrote me like very strange letter, and I thought, wow. Previously, I thought we were friends. What happened?
Oh, wow.
Yep. Why he is so strange? Why it looks so not him? And then I was just messed up. I was caught by my emotions because I always believe in relations between human. So I'm a communication specialist, and the main value of mine is communications and relations. So it was awful, but I decided that maybe, like, I've gone through 1 or 2 hours with my emotions, with myself, thinking about, wow, we are not friends anymore. He do not want to be part of our community.
Yeah.
We will not work
Creating
together.
Your story, creating the story.
So I was creating my story, and then I just told my colleague, and she told me, wow, go with him on a call and decide this situation. And what do you think? Of course, I have gone through the call, but it was so stressful because I understand that something might happen, but
You
it
were
all
freaking out.
worked nice. So we met on the call and we have a great conversation. And I understand that, from this email, I've got story, which was my story, not his story. So the main point is that you do not need to create a story in your head. You need to ask a person because he or she could have other meaning with these words. And another point is about our previous points in conversation that your emotional situation, it reflects on others. And I just love idea, which Olga Mack, she was speaker on our webinar, and she is CEO, so she have very leadership experience, like vision. And she told that all lawyers are leaders because they help to make great decisions, like very important decisions, or they influence these decisions. So that's why as a lawyers, we need to understand, or lawyers need to understand, because I do not express myself as a lawyer anymore, but as lawyers, they need to understand that they are leaders and they influence others. So they need to be honest with themselves. They need to understand their own position. They need to understand that their mental health will influence others because they have like very important expertise for the business, for example, for their clients. And if you have a bad day, it means that your client will have like
everybody else is gonna have a bad day.
or will have bad decision for his or her legal problem. That's why you need to understand so that if you are acting as a leader because you influence important decisions, and that you need to express yourself in a very, I just love your word, digestible way, so the other person will understand you and you will be able to express your real emotions and your real self because you influence others.
I think another thing is we live in a society, or like old-fashioned society, where we are raised differently, right? So men have a tendency of not expressing their feelings because they have to be macho, and they can't cry because that's a sign of weakness, right? Like going back to the primitive stuff. And women can't be strong, can't be outspoken, they have to be quiet. And yeah, I didn't take that note when I was raised. So understanding, like, I call it the blue pink syndrome, right? So I strive very hard not to implement that belief into my children. I have both a girl and a boy, and I raise them the same. I ask them, what do they want to do? Do they want to go to dance? Do they want to do karate? I don't just go to the female and say, do you want to do dance? Or, go to the male and be like, do you want to do sports? No, I offer them the same options, and then they themselves make their decision as to whether or not what they want to do. At the end of the day, it's their life. But the other day, I'm in the car and my son is playing with, I don't even know what it was. It was a toy of some sort, and it was pink. It just happened to be pink. And she goes, oh my God, you're playing with a girl's toy. And I was like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm like, I'm like, first of all, where did you learn that? Because in our house, you didn't learn that. And second of all, what about that toy makes you think that it's a girl's toy, right? Like, what is a girl's toy? And she goes, well, it's pink, and pink is for girls. So again, this is why I call it the pink blue syndrome, right? And I was like, he can play with whatever he wants to play with, and so can you. You can be strong, assertive, independent, so can he. Like, it has nothing to do with wherever this idea came from that you can't do some certain things. I got so frustrated the other day. I was trying to dress them alike. This is how far it goes. I was trying to dress them alike. I couldn't find any neutral colors on both sides of the store, right? So I was like, well, I guess we're gonna have to go with a white shirt and some jeans because that's all I can find. And they didn't have any like science and math and robots and none of that was in the girls section. Everything was like Barbies and rainbows and unicorns. And hey, I'm all for it, but look, like girls can be astronauts and engineers and whatever they want to be. Add some of that as well. So it's this like society itself, and I say this all the time, creates these labels for us. It's up to us to remove them, right? So, perfect example, I opened my business about 5 years ago, and they told all of a sudden I was a womanpreneur, I was a mompreneur, I was a female business owner, and I'm like,
I'm just entrepreneur.
I'm just a business owner. I'm a founder of Ada Rosa LLC and the Let's Talk Paralegal movement. Like, I don't need to be, like, obviously I'm a female. Like, there's no hiding that. Like, what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with my company?
Yep.
And I think we see that all the time, though. The first female, whatever. The first, and then they put in a race or like they put in like a culture or religion, whatever, right? And it's like, okay, that's great. I'm all for diversity and I'm all for promoting diversity. We are the United States of America, and that's what we have built upon our country. But that doesn't have to be the first thing, right? Can't we just be this amazing CEO that took this business from the ground up, and then just happens to be a female, Latina, whatever, X, Y, and Z, you fill in the blank, right? So society loves to put that upon us, loves to put us in little boxes and put a whole bunch of labels on us, even before we step foot outside our house. So it's up to us to really remove those, because I feel like sometimes, although they're great for identity, they're also hinder us, because then we identify ourselves too much with that and we limit ourselves. Well, then I can't do that because I'm this, right? And that's what society's saying, that I need to be this person because it's who I am. Well, that's not true. Just because you were born poor doesn't mean you have to die poor. Just because you were born rich doesn't mean you have to die rich. I know a lot of rich people that went poor. Sometimes not by choice, sometimes by choices. So, life is all about choices. It's up to you to handle those certain circumstances. And I think it just kind of goes back to what we were saying, is about knowing yourself and being brave and being honest with yourself and knowing who you are, not what society thinks you should be, right? Like you said about the hero syndrome. You can be a hero, but heroes are always brave and honest, right? And I love that, by the way. I'm totally writing these down. I have like 3 of them already here.
So I just had a great example about legal tech founder, and it's she. So she wrote an article about how it is difficult to be a woman and CEO of the startup. It's Ukrainian startup, Legal Known. They are doing great. They're building marketplace for lawyers, and it's like kind of great idea, great team, and she has 2 co-founders, their boys. So the main problem with most of investors was that you're a girl and you're a CEO. And so, yep. And one investor, while they were going through accelerator for legal tech startups, of course, because they are legal tech startups. So one of investor, he asked, why do you have girl as CEO? You have 3 co-founders, 2 of them are boys. Why do you have girl as like the ruler of the realm? So the main point of her article was that it's didn't matter whether I am a girl or a boy. I'm a person. I have personal traits that helps me to be entrepreneur, that helps me to be a leader. And it doesn't matter on your like physical background. It's more about what happens in your mind and about your beliefs, even about whether you are brave enough to be a leader, to dream bigger than others do. It's like my personal belief that you need to dream bigger than others do, and then you be more successful than others. So it was such an awful, but such a powerful example of her that you need to stand out for yourself. You need to be yourself. be honest with yourself and others, but you need to like build those walls. Again, those who are trying to look on some prejudices which already exist in society and tell you to look like somebody, to do like somebody because of this prejudice. So it's like, you know, it's great to be yourself, but you need to be also brave for it. But it pays you a lot. So while you are doing what you really want to do, while you are being what you really want to be, you just love your life and yourself.
Yeah.
So it helps you a lot to be
Absolutely.
really.
Self-talk is important, right? The way you build yourself up. I know, especially before a speaking engagement, especially back in the day when we actually got to speak in front of people, I would always hype myself up. I would always remind myself, okay, who am I? What am I doing? What's the purpose of this talk? Who am I talking to? Who's my audience? Oh yeah, you know, and just like kind of amp myself up for it. Even if it was just 20 people, you know, a room full of students. It didn't matter if it was a whole auditorium or if it was a classroom. There was a message that I wanted to portray and physically did not have to, you know, do that. So back in the day when I first started, I was very picky about how I dressed and how much makeup I put on and my hairstyle. Was I going to wear it up? Was I going to wear it down? Am I looking too girly, right? Am I going to scare them off because I'm a girl? So I would always wear, it was the weirdest thing. I would always wear my hair up. Like you'll see, like I have pictures from like back in 2017.
Wow.
I would always wear my hair up in a bun. Like it wasn't even in a ponytail. Like I would literally hide my hair. I would wear suits, like pantsuits. I wouldn't wear dresses. I wouldn't wear pencil skirt, nothing like that. And I wouldn't even wear heels. I would wear flats. So, which is, I mean, all for the flats. But I would literally like try to hide the fact that I was a female because I felt that a lot of people don't listen to us, right? We talk a lot, we have a lot to say, but when it's time to do it, everybody just like zones out. Versus like if a male comes on the stage, everybody's like, "Oh, what do they have to say?" Right? And unfortunately, that is the overall, you know, school of thought. Whether it's bias, unconscious bias, whether it's prejudice, whether it's their home, right? Because usually when people listen males and females, it's because at home the male is the dominant one, disciplinary one, you know, so they're used to that. They're used to the male being the authoritative figure versus the female. Or if they have two males at home, right? Or two females at home. Obviously, it all depends on their upbringing, their background, their family unit. So understanding that these unconscious biases are always going to be there. We're never, ever, okay, so guys out there, prejudice, racism, bias, all this is never, ever going to go away, regardless of how many policies we put into place, regardless of how many societal, you know, procedures and structures we build. Does not matter. People are going to be raised the way they're raised. They're going to have their own family units. They're going to have their individual thoughts. That is the beauty of the United States of America, is that we have our own thoughts and our freedom of speech and our freedom of thoughts to go with them. So understand that you're not going to change anybody else's mind. However, does not mean that you have to be rude to them or that they have to be rude to you. So mutual respect is always, should always be there. So I did that. I went, I would put my hair up. I literally looked as much as a male as possible. I would barely wear makeup. I wouldn't even wear lipstick. I looked dead. Okay. I looked like I died. And I go and I'm, you know, and I do my speech, but guess what? Those speeches, even though they were the beginning, weren't my best ones because I wasn't myself. Like you said, I wasn't being my true self. I wasn't in my, you know, confident in my own skin. I was so, I guess, consumed with what other people had to say or think or what I thought, again, creating that narrative in my mind, that I was like, wow, this wasn't my best work. It wasn't until I said or whatever I want, as long as, you know, it looks nice, it's professional, and, you know, everything else. I'm gonna wear as much makeup as I want, as long, again, as looks nice and is professional. And that's when I was like, yeah, this is me. I have arrived.
Yep, I understand
It's
you.
true. Yeah.
I just done so as you do with my makeup, with buns, because I was doing mood courts. So we have girl team. It was team of 4 girls and other teams from other countries because it was international mood court on media, law, and human rights. So I'm quite aware that United States have like different approach to freedom of speech, and they provide you with greater area of freedom with your speech, but regardless. So the main point is that we were trying so hard to look like real lawyers near boy teams. So we would try, I even get rid of my like very bright blue nails because it was too girly. So you need to not have such bright nails. Yep. So it was great experience, but then I understood that the main point of moot courts is your legal arguments and your ability to prove yourself, your position as an applicant or respondent, because it was like UK-based moot court. So, and you need to prove your position, to provide your arguments, to do your research before that, but it didn't have do something with your gender. So that's why the next year I decided to be myself. And if I want to go with colorful nails, I will do so. And I've done. Yep.
I love it. I love it. I mean, this was an amazing conversation. We can literally go on all day, especially about this topic. But I love what you're doing with legal tech and legal innovation. And I love, like you said, the bigger picture, right? Because I think that's what really creates a good mission and creates a productive mission and a forward mission, right? Because we all have missions, we all have thoughts, we all have like this idea of what the world should look like. And I think communication is literally the center of any idea that you have. So understanding to bridge those gaps is really what I think every industry should be doing anyways, regardless. And I love how you're doing through legal tech and through, something that affects everyone, right? Because legal industry pours out in every other industry. So it's going to affect everyone, regardless of where you're at in the globe, regardless of what race you are, what sex you are, it doesn't matter. Legal is going to haunt you and it's going to come and get you. So understanding that that's going to happen eventually is really key to the success as well. So thank you for coming on to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. And I wish you nothing but the best. You have my full support. And I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. I'm just going to say thank you.
Thank you, Ada. It was an amazing conversation. And I've got so much insights about myself. So I've got to know myself even more before. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.